I'm Lisa Morgan, 32, and I've always been the responsible older sister to Rebecca. We were inseparable growing up, sharing dreams, secrets, and even our fears. When she got engaged, I was beyond thrilled to be her maid of honor. I invested thousands of dollars, countless hours, and all my heart into planning her perfect day. But family dynamics are rarely simple, especially with our mother, Deborah, calling the shots. I never imagined the day would come when she'd look me in the eye and say those crushing words. If you're watching this and dealing with family drama, drop a comment below, hit like, and subscribe, because this story might give you the strength you didn't know you had. Growing up as Rebecca's older sister meant I was her guide and protector. I taught her to tie her shoes, helped her navigate heartbreak, and stood by her through every school play and art show. But in our house, Mom's favoritism was never subtle. Rebecca, the golden child, shined with her charm and creativity, while I was told I needed to lighten up. Dad, Thomas, remained in the background, always choosing peace over confrontation. So, I became the fixer. When the roof leaked, I paid. When bills piled up, I quietly stepped in. That pattern didn't stop in adulthood. I supported Rebecca through college, through life, and into her engagement. But what happens when the sister you've always supported forgets you, right when it matters most? The early days of wedding planning were everything I hoped for: laughter, shared Pinterest boards, late-night texts about flowers, and first dance songs. I thought we were building something together. But it changed the night of a family dinner. Mom showed up with a leather-bound wedding planner I had never seen. Before we'd even finished salad, she announced she'd already booked the Clayton Hotel. They only had one summer date left, she said, smiling proudly. Rebecca looked surprised, but not unhappy. "That's so generous, Mom," she said. I smiled too, but something shifted. Rebecca and I had been comparing venues. We hadn't made a final decision. But suddenly, Mom's word became law. She pushed aside the vendors I'd researched, dismissed the ideas Rebecca and I had agreed on, and declared that the color scheme we picked was too drab. When I voiced concern, Rebecca said, "It's fine. Mom's really into this. And she and Dad are paying for most of it." So I stepped back. Quietly. Still contributing money, still trying to help, but I was no longer part of the conversation. The wedding wasn't ours anymore. It was hers, Mom's. And that was only the beginning. It started subtly: missed calls, vague replies, fewer invites. Rebecca stopped including me in planning updates. I chalked it up to stress. But then I saw a photo on Instagram that made my heart drop. Rebecca, Mom, and our cousin Megan were cake tasting, something I'd been looking forward to for months. Megan held color swatches for bridesmaid dresses. The kind of moment I always imagined sharing with my sister. When I asked Rebecca, she said, "Megan just has more free time, and you've been so busy with work." I wanted to believe that. But invitations stopped coming entirely. I still contributed behind the scenes, paying the deposit for the photographer Rebecca loved, funding welcome baskets for guests, secretly booking a luxury honeymoon to Bali as a surprise. Then came the dress shopping. I wasn't invited. I only found out because a coworker mentioned it in passing. "Sandra said your sister found the dress yesterday," she said casually. I froze. My voice shook when I called Rebecca. Her answer? It wasn't planned. Just something quick with Megan and Mom. The girl I grew up protecting didn't even think to call me. And with that, I realized I wasn't part of this wedding at all. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I had been too involved, too opinionated. Maybe stepping back was best. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. The final blow came during a family gathering when I overheard my name. Standing in the kitchen, I heard my mother say, "Lisa's always been difficult. Rebecca's finally seeing it now." She just wants to be the center of attention. Megan agreed. Especially during her wedding, it's not about Lisa this time. I froze. My chest tightened. That night, I confided in my boyfriend, Tyler. What if they don't even want me at the wedding? I whispered. What if I've already been replaced? Tyler urged me to confront Rebecca directly. You need to talk to her. No more guessing. We agreed to meet at my parents' house. I walked in with hope. But it wasn't a conversation, it was an ambush. My mom called my presence problematic, accused me of controlling everything, and said they'd all agreed. I was no longer welcome. Not as maid of honor. Not even as a guest. Rebecca sat in silence. That was the moment I understood, this wasn't just neglect. It was a plan. And I had been pushed out on purpose. After that night, everything changed. I cried in Tyler's arms, overwhelmed by betrayal and disbelief. But by morning, pain gave way to purpose. I listed everything I had paid for, the photographer, the welcome baskets, and the $8,600 luxury honeymoon to Bali. Then, I canceled it all. Next came the messages. Dozens of missed calls. From Mom, from Dad, and from Rebecca. Then, at 3:42 a.m., a text from Rebecca stopped me cold. I'm so sorry, Lisa. Mom's been lying to me for months. James and I just found out what she did with the honeymoon. Please call me. When we met, Rebecca was shaken. She showed me fake texts, messages my mother had created by changing contact names. Pretending I had flaked on events and criticized her choices. My mother had even deleted my real messages. We sat together, stunned by the scope of the manipulation. She turned me against you. Rebecca said through tears. I shared my own evidence, emails, receipts, screenshots, proof of my efforts, love, and loyalty. Together, we made a decision. It was time to tell the truth, to the entire family. This wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was emotional sabotage. And it had to stop. The next evening, we gathered at Aunt Catherine's house. It was me, Rebecca, James, Dad, and a few close family members. Rebecca and I laid everything out, the fake texts, altered plans, financial sabotage. Aunt Catherine confirmed this wasn't the first time Mom had used lies to isolate someone. Dad sat in silence, visibly shaken. When he finally spoke, his voice trembled. I should have protected you, he said. I let this go on too long. For the first time, I saw him not just as a peacekeeper, but as someone finally willing to take a stand. Mom arrived last, expecting a normal wedding budget meeting. When she saw the evidence on the table, her confidence faltered. First came denial, then rage, and finally, manipulative tears. I just wanted what was best for Rebecca. But this time, no one looked away. Rebecca stood firm. Lisa will be my maid of honor. If you can't accept that, your role in this wedding will be limited. Mom's face turned cold. You're choosing her over me? No, Rebecca replied. I'm choosing honesty. It wasn't an instant fix. But it was the first time the pattern was named, exposed, and rejected. And that, more than anything, gave us room to begin healing. After the confrontation, things didn't magically improve, but they shifted. Mom cycled through phases, denial, silence, and eventually, cautious compliance. The family had set boundaries. She could attend the wedding, but her role would be limited. No controlling vendors, no private planning, no more isolating me. Dad surprised everyone by supporting these changes. I'm tired of pretending everything is fine, he said one afternoon over coffee. It's time to face what we've ignored. Vine. Mom began seeing a therapist, at first reluctantly, then with more willingness. In one quiet moment at the reception, she approached me. You've always noticed what people need. I never had that gift. It wasn't an apology, but it was a start. The wedding day arrived sunny and calm. I stood beside my sister, not because I fought for a title, but because we fought for truth. And for once, everyone in the room knew I belonged there. In the weeks after the wedding, life took on a quieter rhythm. Rebecca and I talked more openly than we had in years. Our bond, though scarred, felt real, rebuilt on truth, not obligation. Mom's progress came slowly. Some days she showed effort, other days, she slipped into old habits. But the difference now was boundaries, firm, clear, and enforced. Dad, once silent, found his voice. He even picked up photography again, a passion he'd abandoned long ago. As for me, I kept healing. With the help of therapy, I started recognizing where I'd confused being useful with being loved. I stopped overextending myself to keep the peace. I learned to say no without guilt. Tyler remained by my side through it all, steady, kind, patient. 6 months later, on a quiet hike to our favorite overlook, he proposed. I said yes, but with one promise: our wedding, our rules. No drama. He smiled. Deal. Life didn't become perfect. But it became honest. Real. Free. And maybe that's what I'd been searching for all along, not approval, not perfection, but peace. If you've ever felt pushed aside, made to feel like you're too much or never enough, know this. Your voice matters. Your boundaries are valid. And your worth was never up for debate.